Hello everyone and welcome to Action RPG. I'm your host Aaron, and for today's video we're headed to the world of Titan Quest 2. Now this video keeps getting sent to me over and over and over again, so I finally had time to go through it today. And this is the developers of Titan Quest 2 playing a 40-minute demo of the game and explaining it to us. Now I'm not going to do a 40-minute reaction, so what I thought we could do is a dev chat Titan Quest edition where I stop and break down all the important parts. We're going to jump right into this because this will likely be a long video around procedural generation, or I guess not procedural generation.
Have this handcrafted world, so we don't use any procedural level generation, at least for now. And this allows us to really take advantage of all these little areas that we can design to create memorable situations for the player. Like here, this ladder might be missed by a few people, but it actually leads to a little area where the player can face more Ictians and maybe also discovers something else.
Yeah, this is also pretty early in the game, so you know the encounters, we've deliberately made them quite easy, but we're still putting some rewards here, as well as some nice view with the waterfall over there.
Watching this right now,
and
actually reminds me of No Rest for the Wicked, at least from a visual perspective. That's what it looks like. No procedural generation, fully handcrafted items.
What they do. So we've brought back obviously all the things about rarities that you can imagine. They basically come with a different number of affixes, but we also put the items into these families, which are essentially these visual groupings of the items, and then those will also bring a specific effect with them. The innate effect, the white effect, essentially here on the overview. Flo, do you want to tell us a little bit about how the visual groupings have been created?
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Swap the bow.
Yeah, so as in other games, obviously we have a lot of weapon classes, but all these weapon classes like one-hand sword, shield, bow, all of these we have divided in 3 families each, as Balint was mentioning already, and each of these families kind of represent or kind of support a playstyle a bit more. I mean, after all, they stay the same, so a two-hand axe, for example, will always be the slow, heavy-hitting weapon compared to a sword, let's say, but there are nuances that can be shifted with these families. So, for example, to stay with the example of the two-handed axes, we have heavy, medium, and light axes, and the light axe might be maybe focusing more on a crit build, while the heavy axes more support this really builds that just want to bring the damage to the enemies. And
I sometimes worry about itemization in families, because that's another way of saying sets, and I'm not saying like set bonuses, but if it's I want to be a bow, I want to be a marksman, so I use this set or this family of items, it kind of doesn't do a lot for build diversity. So we're going to have to wait and see. Now let's talk masteries.
Combining 2 masteries to form your own class. We don't just give you a class. So it's classic Titan Quest stuff. We have active skills as well as passive skills. Of course, what you see here in terms of the size of the skill tree is drastically cut down for the Gamescom demo specifically, so that players with their limited time sessions over there could just get into it and figure out what's going on within the skills. So these are the modifiers that you can slot in, which will cost some capacity slots, which then you unlock with your active points. So if I want to modify my leap slam now to do more stuff, such as also do a stun, then I can assign this, but that will take 2 of these slots. However, if I take it out, I gain those back, and I can do this anytime. I could assign the rage gain, which is also a really nice modifier, and well, we need to somehow make use of that rage, right? It's just a status effect. We've got this onslaught on the primary weapon attack, and I have some more points available over there. So why don't we just get that, put it on, and then it can work in tandem with our frost explosion, which essentially converts some of our damage to cold, and then causes some explosions when...
Okay, one, I love if there's truly no cost. You can just respec on the fly like that. I really hope that comes to early access, which it sounds like it is, because then it's just so easy to try and test different things. It really reminds me of kind of the D3 system, but more advanced. What happens when you die?
Now, this is also a tougher encounter, however, here with the Revenant. It's able to cast these long line AoEs, and it also empowers the nearby skeletons. So you get frozen by this. I tried to chug my potion in the last second, wasn't enough, and
Dead.
I'm toast. But guess what happens then? We go back all the way here, but we don't want to be, you know, masochist or turn you into that. We do offer you this recovery portal to go back. You don't have to kill everything on the way. In fact, everything you did kill is still toast. So we'll be able to just head back to the recovery portal, and the fight is back. We have to solve this combat puzzle that we've set up for you. Shouldn't be a big deal if you...
Wow, it literally teleports you to exactly where you died. So if you're not going to make it, maybe try and get out a little bit. Enemy factions.
These faction system, and you have seen plenty of the Ictins by now. But here we also start to introduce more classes to make the combat encounters a bit more complex and more interesting. So what you have to think of factions is like a toolbox for our game designers to play with to create these encounters. So we have guards that tank damage and try to keep you away from the casters. Then the casters themselves that either deal high damage or assist. Also we have the crowd and enemies like the troopers here and the brute that you can see here in the middle with the big club, where you definitely want to stay away from. As you can see, he really can dish out damage. And if you, like, again, by himself, he might not be the biggest threat, but imagine you were stunned by one of the guards who have a shield and are surrounded maybe by a few others, then this really becomes an issue.
That's absolutely right. And, you know, we've seen earlier the man catcher, the guy with the giant halberd, as well as his net that he can throw. So he can net you. And then the brute comes in, he slams on the ground. It's also a very powerful ability that you have to be wary of. And, you know, we just really want to demand a little bit of attention, a little bit of creativity to solve these combat encounters. But again, early on, we're still simple. Later on, we will start mixing these more advanced creatures together. And actually, we'll get to show that later in the demo as well here. So I've got is this a dagger? Let
me stop him right there. So normally when you got to deal with like enemy families, exactly, you've got the casters in the back, tank in the front, maybe a healer on the left. Normally what you need to do is you have to have some kind of movement skill. And obviously right now he has leap, so that you could leap to the back to kill the casters to then deal with the tank. Makes movement skill mandatory. Character sheet.
Ton of stats for you to enjoy. This is just a basic overview, but we'll have a lot of advanced stats, and I mean a lot. Now you can see a lot of these are still under construction, but these are at the base level all the stats that we'll provide for you, and we'll try to make sure that they're very clear. We're still working on the tooltips for them, but we'll make sure that it's easy to understand. Now, why did I go double daggers? So the reason it's interesting is because they have a lot of single target damage. So if I come across some tough enemies, I'll be able to just shank them and they'll very quickly disappear. But these basic weapons, these smaller weapons, they don't have a big area of effect. All the weapons have an area of effect in Titan Quest 2, but their shape and size differs. So it's a tiny cone with these. But you get this crazy attack speed, especially once your rage goes up with our current setup.
Dual wielding daggers. Already listening to feedback. Listen to this.
Where you go. All right.
Oh, just because I saw you picking up gold, I saw that also been something that people were rubbed the wrong way by. This is also something that we actually already have in the local build here, the auto pickup of gold. So we are also thinking of quality of life features, although it's early access.
Thank you. Epic loot.
What the Raging Bull does is it makes your rage stacks essentially better, giving you more weapon damage for them. So with epic and legendary items, we'll be handcrafting the precise effects that the weapon will wield. It's not really randomized at this point, but depending on where you find them, they will have a different level to them, which is true of every item, by the way, but also for these unique items that we handcraft rather than the random affixes that you get from the other stuff. So why is that important? It's important because you will want to get loot that is close to your level. Basically ensure that you get to grow like that as a character, that you get to progress.
So if you don't understand what he's saying, is that item he found was level 7 because if you look top left up here, he is level 7. And maybe you will find the same thing, Raging Bull at level 20. It'll be the same item, but with better affix ranges, probably because it's a higher level. So make sure you progress your gear as you progress your level. Bosses.
We will have bosses, however, and the bosses will be those 1v1 encounters that are gonna take a longer time, definitely set up for the duel experience and with more complex mechanics and skills.
Yeah, and for the initial early access, we planned with 3 bosses, and I definitely wanted to clear something up. When we are talking about the initial early access, then this is the first launch version that we will bring out in winter. We will follow up this with updates that also extend the content. So when we are saying we're planning with around about 12 hours for a completionist playthrough, means the 12 hours for the initial release. This will be extended by the follow-up updates, which will bring new chapters, new masteries, more content, more weapons, more loot, more of everything.
That's right, and that's all included in your purchase. So there's plenty to still create. We are actually planning and building those new chapters as we speak. And there will be more enemies, there will be more loot, there will be more masteries as well. At least 3 masteries in this very initial drop. And then we'll do even more. And expand on what is there.
Exactly. And so I want to say that we have a great start, a good, especially toolbox. Like it's always hard in game development to get all the systems in place so you can actually start building the world, because that needs a lot of fine tuning, and the systems need to work together and everything. And I think we are in a very good state regarding that. And as Balin said, we are already working on the updates. There is still room though, so we definitely want to hear your feedback. And as you may have noticed, we definitely follow the discussion. Definitely are talking about the feedback we are reading.
I'll stop you right there. I promise you, once I get my hands on Titan Quest 2, I will tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Feedback is very important, especially during the beginning of early access. So you heard it, everybody. About 12 hours of content, 3 different masteries, and 3 bosses coming when we get early access. And right now, all we know is winter 2024, 2025. So people are saying December, January, or February. So within those 3 months is when we will actually get our hands on this game. But we continue to see more and more from the developers and more people that got to play it. I want to know your opinion. From what you saw from this Dev Chat Titan Quest edition, do you think this game is promising? Do you want to play it? Do you think it has a bright future? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Please like, share, and subscribe if you think I have earned it. Best way to support is Patreon. Thank you to everybody that came out to movie night and game night. Always a fun time. It is the best way to support into the future. First link in the description. Lastly, check out my Discord. We're approaching 4,200 members. We have a community event coming up for Cycle Refresh Last Epoch September 19th, and a new community event coming up September 27th for Dwarven Realms 1.0 launch. Only way to be a part of those community events and win is in my Discord. I'm done. Hopefully you're entertained or at least learned something. Aaron, out.